So Jon Jones has been on the No Scripts podcast, which I have never heard of in my entire life. And he's basically calling Tom Aspinall a one-trick pony. Is it valid? Is it not valid? Well, I want to take a bit of a deep dive into today's video and talk about it. Now, first of all, full transparency, I have not watched the entire podcast. I did try watching part of it. I'm not going to give Jon Jones an hour of my time or however long he is on that podcast for, but I couldn't cope with the podcast hosts blatant blowing off of Jon Jones. They were sucking his dick so hard, it was making me nauseous. Honestly, it was making me gag watching it. It was fucking horrendous. Jon will only go on podcasts where he doesn't get challenged. We know that. He refuses to do interviews with anybody who he thinks has a vendetta against him. He has his mindset set and that's it. He's like, I'm not doing it. If you're going to challenge me in any way, you're going to ask me questions about Tom or anything, I'm not going to do it. That's just his history. That's fact. That's not me making this up. That's just the way he is. Anyway, I want to talk specifically about a little bit what he mentioned in this podcast. I'm reading an article here where he's quoted to say, Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony. I believe that his wrestling and jiu-jitsu is incredibly overrated. He has a beautiful 1-2 combination. I got to learn a lot about his patterns in his last fight. That's really about it. That's the one thing he's setting up real nice. He couldn't touch Cyril Gane at all. That's the way I felt. And then he goes on to say, I felt like Gane was just getting warmed up. Gane's hands were down. He was shaking his shoulders, bouncing around. He was touching him. He was so comfortable. Now, you could say, is there an element of truth in there? Well, let's start from the beginning. And I just want to let you know, I don't hate Jon Jones at all. I mean, people call him the GOAT. He's not my GOAT. George St. Pierre's my GOAT, personally. Jones is definitely up there. I mean, the competition he faced in his division for his size is debatable. But you can't take it away from the guy. You really can't. He is one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen, and I stand by that. But he's not my GOAT. So he's saying Tom's a great athlete, but I do feel like he's a one-trick pony. I mean, let's just have a look at Tom Aspinall's record, shall we, and see what he says. Now, granted, majority of his victories have come by TKO or KO, okay? But let's have a look at the beginning of his career, how he won, okay? That was the regional scene. So he's won by arm triangle. That's one. Decision, unanimous win, another win there, KO, TKO, punches, arm triangle choke against Jordan Thompson in May 2014. That's 2. Strikes, February 2021, he won by heel hook. That's 3. Ground and pound, TKO, punches, he won there. TKO, then the injury, then punches. Now we're in the UFC. So he beat Andrei Arlovsky by a rear naked choke, okay, in 2021. So that's 4 in his career of submissions. So he's not just knocking people out. Then we have Sergey Spivak. We know how that went. Alexander Volkov, straight arm lock. That's 5. Okay, that was in 2022. And then we know the rest after that. It was all TKOs, right? Pretty much. So does Jon Jones have a point? Well, majority of his victories are from what he's, from how he's won, which is by strikes. But it's a bit stupid to say that he's a one-trick pony. Tom hasn't actually been tested that much in the octagon to say he is a one-trick pony. Yes, he has a 1-2. Everyone does. You could say Jones is fucking eye-poking people, putting his hands out, right? He likes to create his distance with his hands. That's what he used to do. Tom has a 1-2, but Tom hasn't actually been tested to show anybody that he can do wrestling and BJJ. I mean, you've got to also remember as well, Jon has this thing where he just criticizes Aspinall's grappling game and his jiu-jitsu. He fails to forget that BJJ was the very first martial art that Tom Aspinall did. Because his dad I think he was the first registered black belt in England. So to say he doesn't know it, it's just because you've not seen it. Well, you have seen it, actually, because he's armbarred a few people and heel hooked a few people. and rear naked choked Arlovsky. So he has got it. I don't know why Jon says that. I really don't see why he says that, but no one's seen it much because he's not needed to show it. I don't know what the issue is here. He's been putting people away in less than 2 minutes. So it's not his fault he's not had to show it, but it doesn't mean he hasn't got it. He had an amazing takedown against Volkov. I mean, he shows what he can do, but he's not showed enough because he's not had the opportunity to do it because he hasn't fought the level of competition who will test him. This isn't rocket science, people. It's really not rocket science. So I just feel like Jon Jones likes to take cheap jabs at Aspinall and saying he can't fight. Bollocks, he can fight. Well, saying he's not. Why is it overrated? You've not seen it to be rated. That's my counter argument. How is it overrated when you haven't seen it to be rated? It's impossible. Give him more time and you'll see it. And just because he got a takedown stuffed by Garn, oh, fucking hell, that means he's terrible at wrestling, right? Jon Jones is like, everybody gets stuffed. And also, he'd been out the ring, the octagon, for 16 months or whatever it is. So no, it's bullshit. That's not true at all. When he says I felt like Garn was getting just warmed up, I actually feel the same about Tom. I feel like Tom was just getting warmed up. I felt like the first couple of minutes, he was a little bit tentative, maybe some ring rust, right? He'd been out for a long time. Maybe frustration over the Jones thing. I don't know what it was, but I feel like he was just getting warmed up, okay? He said Garn's hands were down. They were for like 10 seconds during the fight, and he did do his little shoulders for 10 seconds. But if you look after the first minute and a half of that fight, who was pressing who? Tom Aspinall was pressing Cyril Garn. And I'm up to here with people saying that, Tom was getting outclassed in that first round. No, Garn was up by like 2 significant strikes in the round up to that point, right? There was 30 seconds left. It was very close. But when you slow down the tape and you watch the tape over and over again, you can see that, yeah, Garn came forward at first, which was unusual because normally he's that tippy-tappy point scoring, kickboxing, that's what he does. But you can see Aspinall clearly take over, and he was pressing the action. He was chasing Cyril Garn round. Garn was on his bike. He was just doing circles and circles and circles. Tom was pressing Garn. Garn had to run away. And actually, in my opinion, I'm not being biased because I'm from the UK, I'd say it how it is. I don't give a shit. There's plenty of UK fighters who fuck up and I'll talk about them. There's no problem. I think that Garn was getting tired. I really do think he was starting to breathe a bit heavy. I think he thought he was in a fight as well. And Tom was in a fight. But I think he felt the pressure. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that Aspinall was going to stop him. I don't know that. Nobody knows that. But I can say with certainty from looking at the tape and his body language, he was starting to slow down. He was starting to slow down, and I think he was starting to feel the pace. And then came the eye poke, or the gouge, shall we say, not an eye poke. So yeah, it's absolute bullshit what Jon Jones just doesn't like Tom Aspinall because Aspinall is a threat to him. It's as simple as that. Styles make fights. We all know this if you're into watching combat sports. Styles make fights. It's a saying for a reason. It's a bit of a cliche, but cliches are for a reason because they're probably true most of the time. So Garn and Aspinall was never, ever going to be a first-round finish because of the styles of them. They're both very similar. They're both light on the feet. They both move like a lightweight. And they're both incredibly athletic. So yeah, Jon Jones is talking utter shit, but I've not watched that podcast because it was so bad. For the 2 minutes I watched, I was like, oh my God, these guys couldn't suck him off any harder if they tried. And I can't respect people who have podcasts and speak to someone like that, blatantly just sucking them off. I don't know, maybe it's who I am. I like to just, question people properly. I do that in person, I will talk to people properly, ask them challenging questions if need be, but be fair with it. I'm not going to start blowing people off. Just because I'm like, yeah. But they look like children anyway. They look like kids to me. So, but that's what I wanted to share today. Very interesting. Obviously, Jon's got a bee in his bonnet with Tom still. I still do think, I mean, he fucking ducked him. He's rich coming from Jon. I still do think that Jon doesn't want to fight him. I think the extra tape he has seen on him, it's the longest we've seen Tom fight. Well, not the longest, but as of late. I think Jon really knows it would be a real tough night for him with his movement because Jon Jones isn't fast. I mean, he fought Cyril Gane, who shit the bed. Let's be honest, he fucking shit his bed. And he fought a corpse in Stipe Miocic. I mean, that guy was fucking cooked about 5 years ago. When Ngannou brutally KO'd him, he was done. He was cooked. So Jon's coping big. Jon Jones hasn't had any tests at heavyweight whatsoever. It's a different gravy up at heavyweight, man. You know that. So I'll leave it there. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave your comments. Even if you hate me, it's fine. Take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you on the next one.